Welcome, everybody, to our monthly Second Saturdays poetry reading, hosted by local poet Kathy Donnelly. My name is Dan Kerr, and I have the privilege of being your moderator for today's program. We will start reasonably promptly here. One of the good things about COVID, interesting concept, good things about COVID is that poets have learned to be more punctual, so we do endeavor to start on time. If you want to read one of your poems, please put your name in chat, and everyone will have a chance to read. Even if you are chat challenged, we'll go around at the end and we'll get anyone who wants to read who didn't get to put their name in chat, but it would be helpful if you just put your name in chat. Please, out of respect for the other poets, please do keep your microphone muted so we can focus on the words of the poet, not the background noise. Feedback is a gift, so there is my email. So any feedback you have, anything that you like that we did, anything you don't like that we did, any way we can improve the program. Kathy and I have been doing this now for over 4 years, but we're always looking for ways to be innovative and to further refine the program. So feedback is a gift. Please share your feedback with us. I'll get you settled, and then I'll turn you over to Kathy Donnelly. And then what we'll do is we'll have our featured poet, Barbara Southard, a former poet laureate, will come in and be our featured reader for today. I'm just admitting a bunch of people here. Then we will do the open read. So that's where we'll pick up the names in chat. We'll bring Barbara back for an encore, and then we'll have concluding remarks by Kathy at the end, and she'll announce the poet that we'll be having in May. Again, we've been doing this every month now, I think, for about 6 to 7 years, last 4 years virtual. This is not an opportunity for evangelization, but we do a number of things at the church that the poets participate in. So we do a concert once a month, and the next group that we're going to have is, this is in the church on May 3rd. We've got a husband and wife duo, the Serenade duo. You can see what instruments they play there, and they actually live in the Three Village area. So we've got local artists coming in. Normally we have students from the university, but this is a case where we've got 2 very talented musicians who live in the area who have asked to perform, and we accepted their interest. We do the poetry. Some of you may be here for the first time. Please know that we do this every month. And that's a picture back when we used to do it in the church. You'll recognize Barbara and Kathy and myself. If you don't know the other character there, that is Robert Savino, another former poet laureate. We also do Native American drumming once a month as well. It comes out of the Native American tradition. We do that once a month. Interested in any of those things, just check it out on the website or send me an email. Happy to give you more detail on that. Once a year, we combine all the different outreach programs. We do something called Conversations on the Sacred. And the Conversations on the Sacred, what we do is we combine poetry. So we have spiritual poems that were originally selected by Carmen Bugan, now selected by Carolyn Emerson. And then each sacred poem out of various religious traditions is followed by a musical interlude, either by the All Souls organist or by the Native American drummer or by students from the university. And the date that we've set for this year, that'll be on September 6th, so you'll all be invited to that. So that's not a poetry reading, that's our Saturdays at 6 concert. So it's Saturday evening, September 6th. And those concerts, someone will always call and say, what time is the Saturdays at 6 concert? They are indeed at 6 o'clock. So please, we'll start to line up, and you'll see who the people who read the poems are. They're all poets from the area that you'll recognize their names, including Deborah Hauser, who just joined us. Welcome, Deborah. And then once a year, we celebrate the role of the church in the community, and we also raise funds to make the church accessible. Those of you who've ever been in the church know that it's at the top of a hill. We know there are people who'd like to join us that can't. When Stanford White designed the church back in the 1890s, life expectancy was 50 years old. So there are a number of us participating today who would not have made the cut. So accessibility was not high on his radar screen when they designed the church, and the church never had a bathroom. So the project celebrates the things we do in the community and also raises funds to make the church accessible and to add a bathroom to the side of the church. So with that, I welcome you on behalf of the folks at All Souls, and I'll turn you over to Kathy. Kathy, the role yours.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today. We have a nice, healthy group here. 20 people. My goodness, Barb. You must be important. I always start by reading someone else's poem. This is a poem by Hafiz, and he is an Iranian poet. I'm sure you all know that. Persian. Same thing, I guess, same area. It's called I Got Kin. Plant so that your own heart will grow. Love. So God will think, I got kin in that body. I should start inviting that soul over for a coffee and rolls. Sing, because this is a food our starving world needs. Laugh, because that is the purest sound. I love that. I belong to a group at the university. It's under the name is Ali, OSHA Lifelong Learning Institute. And every Wednesday we spend an hour listening to a great poet. The poems go around, we all read one, and I was reminded of Hafi's work. Needed to share it with you. Barbara Southard, fabulous person, fabulous woman, is a member of the boards of the Long Island Poetry Collective and the Long Island Poetry and Literature Repository. She served as Poet Laureate of Suffolk County, Long Island, 2019 to 2021. She has a large extended family, and many of her poems are centered around the neighborhoods, woods, and waters of Long Island. The titles of her 3 books, one is Remember, the second one is Time and Space, and the third is Long Island Poems. I present to you Barbara Southard. Barb, you're muted.
Got to turn your microphone on, Barbara.
Still muted, Barb.
Little microphone on the bottom. There you go. You're on.
Hello.
It was way up in the corner, and there was a bar that was blocking my view. Well, it's wonderful to see all of your faces. I'm going to start. I thought I'd do a little bit of a retrospective in that I'll just do a couple of poems from each book, starting with the first book. And the first book is Remember. And I know at some given time, each of you have experienced this. It's called Moment. There is that moment burrowed between clattering dishes or a fence that needs mending when there is perfection. Like the flashing silver reflection of a school of fish passing by. When clarity takes hold and life throws a clue. Another peach to be plucked, all fragrant and soft, each bite sweet, juice coursing down your face like salty tears. Now this poem, you know, whenever I go to the beach, I see objects that people have gathered together. When I go into the woods, I see markings carved on tree trunks. Wherever I go, you go into the city and you see graffiti. And I would always wonder, why is it that we all do this? No. So I wrote this poem and it's called I Was Here. This is me. A pile of rocks by the river, driftwood constructions on a wind-swept beach, names on the wall of a bathroom stall or carved in the trunk of an old oak tree, striated markings on subway windows, spray-painted tags on sides of bridges, block letters in shadows, throw-ups and stickers. I was here. This is me. Proclamations of love on overpass banners, initials incised in cement foundations or interiors of caves, carvings on tables on tops of mountains, abandoned houses, time-lined tunnels on prison walls, signals sent through the web, bottles dropped in the sea. I was here. This is me. So that takes care of Remember. And then from Time and Space, I also wrote a couple of short stories in this book, Time and Space, but they're mostly poems they're poems from that were published in different journals. And this one is about the concern for what's happening with the planet and the environment. And I started with a quote from Bill McKibben. There should be a word for when you commit treason against a planet. On the coast of a jeweled blue sphere, a full moon draws tides towards her embrace like a voracious lover. Come closer, my love. Flames roar to life, scattering families in heat and smoke in a town called Paradise. Lives turn to ashes. Those who outran, unsure which way to turn. Water gods gather together and roar, let's get 'em, boys. Tornadoes thundering through the land like killed off buffalo, returning for vengeance. Have you read about mothers who eat leaves off trees, boil bones from dead animals found by the road to feed their young, while others cling to tops of trains, walk under the shadow of death to reach the other side, unsure which way to turn? Children under stress fall into a mystifying sleep, their lashes resting heavy on their cheeks. They drift in a dream world, unresponsive to those who love them. While on another continent, others are kept confined to fend for themselves alone under a burning sun. There are so many reasons a rock is moved from one place to another, displacing busy cities of ants darting in all directions under a blinding sun, their alarm pheromones filling the air. Crow says it wants nothing more than the safety of a place to nest, food for its young. This is a poem I really enjoyed reading. I've been living here in this area for a long time, and I've grown old here. And in the morning, I can hear the morning train. It usually starts around 4 in the morning, 4:15, mainly on humid days. And this is pretty much a meditation of where I live and getting older too. The train starts its engine for the morning run to Manhattan, stirring me from an ephemeral dream. Throaty wail of its warning whistle, pulsating low rumble, traveling through the blue-black of 4 in the morning. I am oppressed by longing on this day that brings a clouded sky, transforming the nearby marsh into a silver necklace, framed by morning mist, ducks and swans, its jewels. So much now behind. The sorrowful sound of the train whistle marking out my days, a vast repository of memory entangling each hour, vision blurred like a late Monet. Take each instant as it comes, a momentary froth in smoke rings, living body of time moving backward into the future with every tick of the inner clock. Crackling neuronal net overseeing the great open sun. The word bird, its image doodled on a piece of scrap paper by a child. A feather floating down to the ground, beak, bite, fight, claw. The push of an oar moving through the water, leaving small ripples behind. The soft breath of a baby grazing my face like moth wings. The presence of things where years to moments shrink. My body's vessel keeping me afloat after all these years. That alone is a miracle. One night, I walked in the garden where bees were sleeping on the spiky centers of star-shaped blooms. I nudged one with my finger, watched it move like a slumbering child disturbed by a kiss. All this life in the deep night. The walk up the hill is harder now, my footing tricked by dew-soaked stones under my feet. Hidden rocks and roots lead the way, presenting hard choices. Horizon transmuting into billows of mist and cloud, then changing back when blue breaks through. Soon the woods will be ablaze with fallen leaves, riddled with wear, their time of use over. Air raw with frost, first breaths. So I'll leave time and space behind. And this is the last book I wrote, and it was I had so many Long Island poems, and I wanted to write a book of Long Island poems, and that's what I did. Each poem is from a particular place on Long Island. This first poem, and if you've ever been caught in one of these currents, you'll know about this. This is from Fire Island. It's called Rip Current. It carries you out like a small piece of flotsam, land receding as if trapped on the back platform of a fast freight train, abandoned far from the roar of breaking waves, as alone as you've ever been. Left to floating in rolling swells, seabirds catching air currents far above, mocking your ineptitude. You are a small mouse in a marsh, struggling to reach the safety of a blade of grass, expands from water to land unreachable. Yet you make your way back to shore, sea whispering in your ear, float, swim, float, until one last wave takes you in, your feet kissing the sandy bottom. I hope you never get caught in one. It can be scary. This is the poem from Sound Beach, and it didn't survive COVID. We used to go here a lot. It was a little neighborhood restaurant, and I just loved it there. And I will read a poem about this restaurant that no longer is. Mediocre food at best, woodsy decor with touches of kitsch. The place hums with living. Dining room filled with families and friends. Flash of tattooed arms inscribed with red hearts, names, dates, meanings known only to their owners. Older kids on chairs play with smartphones or squirm in their seats like 6-month-old puppies. Babies on laps, grasping French fries in their fists or pressed in sleep against their mother's breasts. The bar beyond the glass door is packed with the weekend crowd, regulars in work clothes stopping off for their Friday night drink, conversations picked up from the Friday before, the end of the week in their voices, loud laughs. Here is where someone you know can build you a new deck or tell you how to fix your leaking faucet on their one night out, a week filled with work, always work, juggled with kids getting off the school bus, homework, bills to be paid. I really miss that restaurant. And this last poem from Long Island Poems is from Freeport, where I grew up. And I grew up on a canal. And this is about my brother and myself, and it's called Childhood. When we were children, My brother and I roamed the neighborhood, pocketing any shiny object we came across. Fought our nighttime dragons with shoe fights, shoes tossed across the room until one of us failed to return the volley from sheer exhaustion. We didn't care about the lobster's fate, nor the blue claws hunted in the canal out back. We incinerated Japanese beetles in jars with siphoned gasoline and matches stolen from our mother's kitchen. Those iridescent creatures never standing a chance. We took our lives for granted, every living thing around us subject to our will, not yet knowing how one depends on another, how reefs react to warmth, how salmon must return to their place of birth in their cycle of life, how we too would one day weaken and die. So now I'm going to have a couple of poems. One of them is about a bicycle that I found out in the woods a long time ago. And I brought it home. And I get attached to things like crashed bicycles and machines, things of that sort. And I call this poem Crashed Dream Bicycle. There you are, half hidden in vines in the middle of the woods, rust tattooing designs all over your frame. I'm madly attracted to your twisted wheels, spokes flaring in all directions, sturdy handlebars gleaming in the light. There must have been a child who spent summer days riding you, learning to master the surrounding world. It disturbs me to see you tossed out like a bad bag of onions. I bring you home, hang you on my fence. Years have now passed with you in my yard, small improvement from your abandonment in deep woods, caught in shaggy undergrowth. I brought you inside, painted your frame in kaleidoscope colors, added small round mirrors, so that your very presence lights up the room in a crescendo of reflected light. This is all I can do for you. You are here as I am here, catching the light, still a part of this world. So here's another object that I am still attached to. I just used it this morning, and it's called Ode to a Shovel. Holding grip and handle, I step on your blade to turn the spring soil after a long season of cold. We are companions creating this garden, you with your hickory handle, growing more beautiful with age, me with my daydreams of hummingbirds. Tangle of flowers and ferns, tumescent buds ready to shake off their worn winter faces. I fell in love with you the first time I saw you at the herb farm, knew we belonged together. The air carries an ardent brightness, trembles over shape-shifting patches of green. We have much work to do, hours to make the most of, before dusk turns to dark and fades all color to gray. So, what do we have here? This is a poem about a very close friend. We lived in Huntington together. We raised our kids together. And she moved out here where I live in Miller Place. And I happened to find a house not that far from her. So I could walk to her house. One day, she told me she had contracted ALS. Her name is Gail. How fast you traveled from nursing others to the stiff neck you complained of when we had breakfast in town. How tired you'd become of waiting for doctor's appointments, returning home knowing no more than the week before. Yet you continued to work until driving became impossible. The morning ritual of combing hair, brushing teeth stretched longer into your day, stairs leading from your house a barrier to the outside world. With each failure of your body, you remained in charge, your still formidable voice instructing your daughters about finances or how to move your now inert arm from its resting place. How does one absorb the slow disappearance of a lifelong friend who always had a story to tell, her voluptuous enunciation of words, every nuance of emotion chronicled? You drift further away. We knew that day would come, had talked about it, but hadn't practiced counting out letters because that would have been too close to the truth of what lay ahead. Those last days, your large, luminous eyes were the only passage left between us, such a tenuous filament to cling to. And this is my last poem.
Good
And
timing, Barbara.
thank you. This poem, it's called To Be Alive. To feel, heat bubble and boil under the skin, the heart sending its measured beat through the wall of the chest out into the firmament where all those great minds still roam, mingling together, infiltrating others. To be raised up by the feel of soft needles at the base of a pitch pine that lends a pillow for the head, or the touch of another spirit passing by on a gray day. To be blessed by the otter, her large eyes tracking the sad procession of mourners leaving the harbor. The joy the mind gets from waking to the deep blue of morning, geese flying in front of a warm moon. Are we not all living poems, walking the broken surface of this land, stumbling on fragments waiting to be made whole, never knowing what we see is real, our minds constructed of inner visions coupled with common dreams of falling? Thank you so much. Thank you.
That was great, Barbara. Just
Thank
those listening to those beautiful poems, starting out with that magic moment in terms of remembering. And I was here, I was reminded of those scenes from World War II. Kilroy was here, I was here. And the treason against the planet, thinking of the tornadoes like killed off buffalo, seeking their wrath, and the haunting sound of the train whistle and the sorrowful sound of the whistle, and just beautiful. And then taking us to Fire Island, and the being caught in the riptide, and your feet kissing the sandy beach when you finally made way back home. Beautiful imagery, and how sad that restaurant that no longer was. That's when restaurants. It's so hard when restaurant, but if you get something and it lasts and it develops a clientele, it's really its own little culture. And it's always sad when a restaurant goes. And you took us to this restaurant, so thank you. And it was interesting in terms of you and your brother growing up, and how you guys were both the center of the universe, and the things you didn't realize, those poor lobsters, and taking other lives for granted, and not realizing until you became adults, I guess, about how much we depend upon one another. And that beautiful story, we're getting into Easter, so resurrection is on our mind, the resurrection of that bicycle in the woods. How it went from being a source of joy for a child to a bad bag of onions. And you brought it back. And the ode to the shovel. I never thought of a shovel as a companion in building something. So that was beautiful. And that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful tribute to your friends. The slow disappearance of a friend. You captured her journey so eloquently. And And then to conclude, with that, we're all to be alive, and that all of us are living poems was just beautiful imagery and a real pleasure for all of us. So thank you much. And we look forward to your encore. So, okay. So we're going to move into the open read. And the open read, please, I've got a whole bunch of names in chat. So if you haven't put your name in chat, you still can. And at the end of that, we'll go around and make sure anyone, if they're chat challenged, has an opportunity to read. But please put your name in chat. Please keep your microphone muted until you're called upon. Please, only one poem. We have got a lot of people that want to read, so please, out of respect, just one poem, please. We'll bring Barbara back for an encore, and Kathy will close the program. So those are our guidelines. So let me stop sharing here. And it's our tradition to call the poets in groups of threes, so you're not surprised. So it's Nicola, and then Claude, and then Virginia. So Nicola, over to you. And Adam, we got you. Adam, we'll let you read as well. But Nicola, we'll start with you, followed by Claude, followed by Virginia. Nicola, over to you.
Okay, thank you. This one is called The Quiet Woman. Hope you like it. Whispers run from cottage to farm, past from women at the well to shepherds on the hills. Our Lord has run mad, his people say, consumed by grief for his lady, the quiet woman. He rides the bare hills where the curlew calls, wind stirring his hair as the swift rising sun sets gorse ablaze. He seeks her in the lush green wood, moisture dripping from mist-swathed trees, a slow-eyed deer raise wary heads, poised for flight. He calls her name in the water meadows, where willow leaves drift on slow-moving streams, and moorhens house among the rustling reeds. He calls for his lady, his bride for a year and a day, the quiet woman with the sea-grey eyes, softly spoken, her voice the murmur of waves on a gentle shore. He gave her pearls as a morrowing gift, the tears of the sea, an ill-omened choice. The quiet woman stands at the water's edge, waves lapping gently on bare feet, her mind in torment, racked by the sea longing. A seal, basking on sun-warmed sand, raises its head. Cormorants fall silent on jagged rocks, sensing a liminal time, a time of transition. Stifling regrets for lord and newborn son, this child of ocean makes her choice. Casting off her cloak of skin, she returns to the sea, leaving only memories and some pearls on the sand. There you are.
Thank you, Nicola. Well done. Claude, over to you.
Good morning, everybody. That was great, Barbara. I like that also, that line you had, like a tentative, such a tenuous filament to cling to, only communicating with your eyes at the end. Ooh. All right, so I have a poem here that I wrote in April of 1989 in the Hamptons. So it's a little flavored with the Hamptons, but it's a little beyond that. I just want to tell you two words. One is soot, like you have in a chimney, except I made it into a verb. So it's soots, while the swarthy village stoots is the line. And then there's a word, an Arabic word at the end of the poem it's called Nabua, which means a spiritual prediction in Arabic. Deirdre Zeta and her ambivalent weasel. Late nights, dry mucus voice, interpretations of the cosmos dawdle like doom candles while the swarthy village soots. From her suburban wine farm, Deirdre Zeta strolls to Maimonides Bridge, trying to feel suitable in America's luxury bin. Jaguars and Cadillacs sap her idealistic weasel when the crowds rush noisily past her husband's highway mansion. He runs for miles in mossy tunnels beneath potato fields and development ponds. Children get scared, but their parents cannot reason with what they saw. Quick eyes, deceptive gulls, lounging hungrily everywhere, clams bursting like cantaloupe congers. Driving while intoxicated squadrons brightly blockade back country roads, laughing impervious facades of caged neutrality. Toads explode in dank creeks and civilized shopping malls, where Fantashred salespeople mum through unlearned speeches atop esplanade fountains. Blood drips from the teeth of teachers, horrified that life breeds such ignorance, disrespect for sibling species. This earth lurches lost on its looping orbit down the gurney-way of oblivion. Deirdre Zeta calls her ambivalent servant to view the misty tracks beyond, beside her. Next train tomorrow morning until the 24th, when midnight invaders echo out the cornucopia at Cove, ready for joy, stocked to leap securely across rain-swept Badland canyons. Druggy money, warbly wounded from Woonsocket, ditch diggers from Duluth, freedom fighters from Fargo, victims of death squad goons from Nueva Concepcion, El Salvador, magnificent stagehands from Bonnie Tremor, taunt her tenuous grasp on where she's launched her macabre stay-at-home lies. The reeds stink of low tide. The weasel flaunts his twisted breeding, snaps and quips to please his displaced heroine. Why should the air darken when the wind blows east at dawning? Why do the eyes suddenly ignite when the circus trailer starts its noontime generator? Doctors, salient-livered politicians attend the monarchical deficients. A strange voice on the radio claims that love has been thrown over vocational mirages near death's cloud-hidden range. Pitless precipices surround the heart of danger. The weasel snorts, frightening Deirdre's hackneyed estrangement. The village siren shatters introspective perspication. The poison dust iridescently stains blue shoes. The weasel loafs like a lawyer at the heralded barometer shampoo on the way past oak casks and corkscrew notions that once seemed placidly sensible, though gypsy palm readers evacuated the area when time cracked its euphemistic naboo.
Good. Okay. So trip to the Hamlets. Virginia, over to you.
Yeah, I think I'm on now, right? You can hear
Yep.
me?
You're fine.
Crazy for Tonto. At 8, I was crazy for Tonto. I thought he was beautiful. I wanted to ride a horse beside him. He was unperturbed in desperate times. Then Sabu revivals caught my eye. His mischief, his soft laugh, and clear argument enchanted me. Would he cover me in jewels and provide dancing parrots? But movies late brought Gregory Peck and Death by Desire. A mythic duel in the sun. I wanted to roll in the dust with him. I was caught up in a mad tango of flesh. In my late teens, Woody Strode interrupted with startling bravado my Peck holiday. But Peck remained my favorite, and I overcast innocent men with my icons. At 9, I decided I needed a male companion in life. I demanded beauty, whimsy, rebellious danger, bravery. I paced my dreams, a cat eager to hunt.
Thank you, Virginia. Okay, the next group of three is Sherry, followed by JR, followed by Megan. So that's Sherry, JR, and then Megan. Sherry?
Hi, thank you, Dan and Kathy, for hosting. And Barbara, this is just such a delight getting to just hear you read all your art and how your art, some of your pieces are you're writing about art. The bicycle one, always, I just always love that one. This poem is inspired by a quote I heard from George Wallace in a class I took a couple weeks ago, and the quote is, "We have nothing but this beautiful, sad planet to save us," unquote, attributed to Chilean poet Pablo Neruda. And it's called SOS. She cries out to us. I hear her in ravaging fires. I fear her in hurricane whipping rains. I feel her in quakes and tremors, or when birch trees weep in ice. She appeals to us with her fruitful flowers and colorful trees and playful foxes and dancing whales. Our deafness wounds as we injure her with drills and spills and need for comfort still. Millions ignore her pleas as she gasps for breath in an exhale of flames and floods. She thunders at us, trying to save our souls and homes. If we would hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Well done. Okay. JR, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Poetry Month. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Barbara. What a wonderful array of poems. The one with you and your brother in nature made me think of this. So this is a drabble. Found on the roadside. Rescued a turtle. Got a glass tank, heat lamps, water dish, everything Petco said I'd need, except the bugs. I set him up in the den. We moved at the same pace, a good pairing. He looked lonely. To comfort him, I fed him. He ate less lettuce than I expected, and so the bugs. I bought worms, just once. He ignored them, ignored my lettuce. Ugh. I bought crickets. Dropped the bag. They scrambled under the couch. Once was enough. I packed up the turtle, patted goodbye, relocated him to a pond in the park. The crickets, unfortunately, stayed. Thank you.
Thank you, JR. Well done. Okay. Megan, over to you.
Thanks. Great to be here. This is also a drabble. This is called Only Once. We think we'll take endless walks, feel butterfly air brush our cheeks, let ice cream melt, bless our fingers with sweetness. We believe in the future, in the promise of better weather. We know there's more. But everything ends. No one has the right answer. Once is never enough, yet once is all we get. That walk, we'll never take that exact stroll again. Days blur, lukewarm water in a chipped glass. This breath may not be the last, but it isn't the same as the inhale before. We don't have a choice. Once is all our bodies live. Thanks.
Thank you, Megan. Well done. Okay, the next group of three is Jill, followed by Bob H., followed by Dan Kerr. So Jill, over to you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the hosts and to Barbara. My poem is called The Wall. The wall began long ago. Erection for protection, insulation from infiltration of thoughtlessness and inconsideration. Brick by brick, the construction of every infraction laid one upon the other, my heart the central location. Carefully place them, together cement them, etch the offense for future recognition. One brick apathy, another brick lies, another one betrayal, and another self-absorption. Continuously stack them until the wall is impenetrable with a solid foundation. Next brick, envy, another brick, revenge, another one, gaslighting, and another, rejection. The insurmountable wall growing higher and higher each passing year. I give and give and give some more with little reciprocation. An additional brick not accepted, another brick not included, another one intoleration, and another misconception. Frequently, light flashes through the Constitution, beckoning me, luring aspiration, until it unveils its true coloration of fool's gold, the shimmer and glimmer of maybe this occasion. But its true worth is of no value, just more humiliation. The pattern of repetition, the only evaluation, the beacon blinding me for a brief duration. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Well done. Okay. Bob H. There you go.
Second to unmute. I wanted to first say thank you to Daniel and Kathy, and also to Barbara. It's always a pleasure to see you and hear your evocative words, so thank you. This is called Seems Long Gone. Might be a bit of a rant. There once was a time when it was okay to say, "You're welcome," instead of "no problem." It was a time when you, at least, pretended to listen to your elders. That stopped when no one over 30 could be trusted anymore. It was a time when you might have a political discussion instead of being confronted by shouts and worse. I know a lot of things in the good old days weren't so good, but I miss manners and civility. I know, you'll just say I'm old. And you know that? I'm kind of glad that I am. Thanks.
Thanks, Bob H. You know, Native Americans speak of the different stages of life, and the last one is wisdom. So I don't know if that's aging or wisdom. Speaking of aging, it's my turn. And this poem, it's recent, my most recent poem, called No Spring Chicken, if you're familiar with that expression, No Spring Chicken. Here goes. The soap opera of my youth reminded us all, like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives. As the sand goes from top to bottom, the roles of our wives change. From lover and playmate, they grow into truth tellers. As my wife ran her fingers through my hair, she shared two unwelcome truths. The silver hairs on your head have now surpassed the gold, and you know you are no spring chicken. The doctor reviewed the results of my back x-ray and explained that the pain in my back was caused by age-related arthritis. Seeing the look of disbelief on my face, he said, "You know, you're no spring chicken." The dentist looked in my mouth and pronounced I had age-related gum disease, and my bridge of 40 years had to be replaced with implants. And then he said those dreaded words, "After all, you're no spring chicken." My hair cutter announced on his website that haircuts would now be $30, but the discount for students and faculty at Stony Brook would still apply. As I reached for my faculty card to claim my discount at checkout, the girl behind the register said, "That will be $15. Seeing the look of bewilderment on my face, she pointed to the sign, "Special discounted rate for senior citizens." How did she know I was a senior citizen? The truth-telling chorus now includes my wife, my doctor, my dentist, and now my hairdresser too. Perhaps there is now more sand in the bottom of the hourglass. And after all, I'm no spring chicken. Thank you. Okay, so now the next three are Don, followed by Randy, followed by Adam. So Don, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Love that no spring chicken. I feel it myself. Anyway, I was looking for a poem to read today. And I don't know if you can see out my window. No, you can't because I'm looking in my little thing. But the yellow garden is in full bloom, blasting away with forsythia and daffodils. And it made me think of this poem, so appropriate. However, it's in the 30s this morning here in Northport. And this poem was also written just at this time of year because all the plants that are in the poem are in bloom right now. And hold up the picture. And it was much warmer that day. The poem is called In My Yellow Garden. I am sitting with my back to the yellow garden, and I look forward and I see the blazing pink of quince and the apple blossoms and the pear blossoms in my yellow garden. In the blooming yellow garden, I sat dozing in the sun's warmth, where sleep crept over me, and Cooper woke me as he climbed into my lap and wants to know why I'm so still. I see across the lawn the blazing pinks of quince and soft white blossoms of pear. A crimson cardinal flies in budding boughs high over the pond where red forms move the water's surface. Now a flash of crimson moves in the white fluff of blossoms, making boughs bend and sway in the breeze, and the scent of forsythia and daffodils sitting in the sun by the yellow garden.
Thank you, Don. Well done. Okay. Randy, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Dan and Kathy and Barbara. Excellent poetry. This is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and I heard a speaker 2 weeks ago that just blew me away. He is in an organization, Love 146, that helps girls in recovery. So I wrote this poem, The Master Sculptor, dedicated and written to them so he could, read this to them. So The Master Sculptor. First, a quote. Michelangelo carved his statue of David from the Bianco Ordinario grade marble rather than the Superior Statuario. Furthermore, the marble block had been badly prepped by the original artist and then had been left in the Opera del Duomo courtyard exposed to the weather for 25 years. After this, he accepted the commission to sculpt this flawed block and created one of the world's greatest works of art. So, the Master Sculptor. You see defects and stains. I see unfinished art. I am the master sculptor who molds and chisels your heart. As the great designer, I see into your soul, beyond the marble block, to beauty only I know. You doubt your intrinsic worth, despair to find your dreams, believe your past repair, a sculpture unredeemed. Yet no defacement of walls, no damage done inside, transcends my sculpting skills to mend and sand and shine. I'm gentle with my tools, so let the maestro carve, till one day I reveal my stunning work of art. Thank you.
Beautiful, Randy. Thank you. Okay. Adam, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. I have two people that I knew who had ALS, and Barbara's poem about her friend with ALS really is spot on about what that experience is like, and I thank you. Thank you also, Dan, because I too have age-related, arthritis in my back. So, and I'm an old guy. You're a young guy by comparison, but I'm an old guy. Anyway, this is a poem called All Immigrants, And the end of the poem deals mostly with the Jewish experience, but I think that it applies to everyone because these are times where people feel life is tenuous and their situation is tenuous. Many protest refugees with surnames like Sanchez and Rodriguez, who they claim will ruin America. The protesters are O'Reilly, Cohn, Milano, McDonald, Lamb, Svensson, Malkovich, Schultz, and Papadakis. Where do they think they came from? Jews were told they were not real Germans or Poles or Russians, made second class, expelled, murdered, even those they lived there, even those that lived there for generations. We thought America was different, a pluralistic nation of immigrants. But keep your passport up to date and suitcase packed just in case.
Thank you, Adam. Very timely. Okay, Shu, followed by Deborah, and followed by Tony. Shu, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. So even though, outside it's cold and windy, but inside this reading room, it's very warm. So I like it. I'm going to read the poem titled All I Want. All I want is to give you a call, hear your voice, say hello, catch up on all the time I missed. Know that you are well, you are still you. To share our thoughts about the world, hear of places you have wandered to, stories you have gathered. Everything in your life I want to know. But maybe I want more. A hike on a sunlit afternoon, old movies and rain-spattered roofs, ice cream at a corner cafe, a slow train ride with no destination, just the rim of tracks and your shoulder beside mine. All I want is to hold your hand, pull you close, feel the warmth of your chest, the steady beats of your heart, reminding me I'm home. All I want is to kiss you, feel the softness of the lips, tasting the promise that lingers between us. All I want is to stay when the day turns heavy, when your thoughts burn and the shadow rise. Let me carry you gently out of mine. All I want is to watch sunrise and nightfall beside you, to trace both joy and sorrow in the same breath, to live not just the moment, but every second together. All I want is you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shu. Well done. Okay. And Deborah, you're next.
Thank you. Thank you to Dan and Kathy for putting this together every month. And thank you, Barbara, for your wonderful reading. I am going to read a poem for Passover. This is A Newborn Girl at Passover by the poet Nan Cohen. Consider one apricot in a basket of them. It is very much like all the other apricots, an individual already, skin and seed. Now think of this day, one you will probably forget. The next breath you take, a long drink of air. Holiday or not, it doesn't matter. A child is born and doesn't know what day it is. The particular joy in my heart she cannot imagine. The taste of apricots is in store for her.
Thank you, Deborah. Okay. Tony, over to you.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Dan and Kathy for hosting, and Barbara, wow, you brought some sunshine into a really great day, so thank you. I'm going to read today's National Vinyl LP Day, I think. But I don't have a poem about vinyl or LPs, but I do have a poem about the radio, which is another medium that's kind of out of date. So I'll read that. Back when I swallowed the radio. No tubes, just transistors, D batteries, telescopic swivel antenna, volume and fine-tuned knobs and frequency needles steering me to stations, commercial and pirate, some static, some smooth as mercury in my brain, in my soul, 100 years into some lifetime past I go, back to my 10-year-old bedroom with penlight. In my 10-year-old bed, under covers, tenting, somewhere close to midnight and heaven's gate, to a forbidden place proudly I felt I had grown, my future taste, and ears of my own. Like Eden, the world opened wide, pouring its tunes through a speaker grill. Beach boys dousing beach girls, teasing a lot in polka dot bikinis under the boardwalk. There was some kind of a communion there, a religion of rhythm, a confession of hipsters, sinners, and saints, and I liked them equally. I listened to what they all had to say. I betted my head to the popular hits, but also to the dark songs, never played in the light. I became a man of the night. A man dressed in black, a man Johnny Cash would have blessed, a man Muddy Waters would buy a bourbon, a man noble as Paul Robeson, a man steady as Old Man River, and the moon behind my shuttered window bled like Aretha's rose in black and Spanish Harlem. A continent below the concrete street, I'd ride that subway home in dreams after falling asleep. Entrance and exit stairs the same, just taken in different directions, up and down the frequency spectrum in my radio days.
Thank you, Tony. That was great.
Thanks.
Okay. Pramila, over to you.
Thank you. It's just lovely to be in this space. The lull between waves. Clouds press against the sky, testing its give. Where the gray cracks a sliver of light, touches white-winged acrobats above speeding surf. We worry about the clawed-out beaches, our homes inches away from a breaker rolling in to grind us in its maw. We pile sandbags, raise embankments. For now, we trace the shoreline. Look how winds lift gulls and drop them. A heron rises high into the air with a crab in its beak. He lets it fall and swoops down to catch it, misses, then picks it up from the sand, flies up again, drops it, and swoops down, misses. Over and over he repeats, reveling in his play. His compatriots witness his clowning. They know the measure of flight, how to allow being buffeted, unresisting, when to wait for calm. Thank you.
Thank you, Pramila. Okay, so I think everyone who wanted to read, let's see, Kathy, would you like to read?
I have a short poem. You know, this weather, when we have so much of it, it kind of gets to me after a while. I'm seeking the sun now. But it occurred to me that so many people have accidents in this kind of weather, and it's so sad. I wrote this old poem called Mischief. When the light turns green and you're daydreaming, there's no honk if no one's behind you. If you make a U-turn at the no U-turn sign, there's no ticket as if a police officer does not see you. If you slow roll through a stop sign instead of a full stop, there's no crash if no one is coming. If you write a letter, tell her what you really think. There will be no hard feelings if you don't send it. I want to just say thank you, Barbara, so much for your read. It's greatly appreciated in the chat. You'll have to take the time to read it all. And thank you.
I think, was there anyone else who wanted to read? I don't see any waving. If you are, just wave your hands. If not, I think we got everybody. So we did. So let's bring back Barbara for her encore. Barbara? Remember to put your, there you go.
All right. So this poem I'm going to end with, I wrote it when I read that England was appointing a minister of loneliness. I don't know if you remember that, but they did. They appointed a minister of loneliness. And then I heard other countries were doing the same, including this country. And I was struck by that because we live a bit differently than we once did because of technology and other reasons. So this is called Minister of Loneliness. I'm here to lift you out of the dark well you find yourself in. People passing by as if all is right in the world. The young with their audacious laughter, couples in love holding hands in the park, neighbors pulling out of their driveways for the ride to work. You tell me you have become invisible, life narrowed to a stream choked with weeds. Once the hub of a many-spoked wheel, you now sit in a room, disconnected from all you knew, minutes stretching out like an abandoned railroad track leading to nowhere. I ask myself, where have all the families gone? Generational houses where stories were passed on, giving a sense of place to our lives, where a child would not have to come home from school to an empty house, neighbors who watch out for each other, dropping over for a cup of coffee. The world has grown ravenous for touch, amidst the tangle of wires snaking from room to room, cacophony of TV, its dreary drone on from morning to night, casting a flickering blue light. I am the minister of loneliness, appointed by the government to cherish you, to hold your hand. So I leave you with that.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Kathy?
Yes. Okay. So I'm not going to read all this. I think some of you know Chip Williford. He is a pleasure and a phenomenon. He helps run the venue out in Riverhead with Maggie Bloomfield, and just wonderful. So I hope you all come back next month to hear Chip. You won't regret. That's it. Have a great day today, if you can.
You too.
Building bridges.